Aloha! Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Jay Dreamers. Welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to talk about the blue moon. And it's this saying, once in a blue moon, something crazy happens. Or once in a blue moon, this will happen or that'll happen. I like to study those sayings. I like to study like the old nursery rhymes and weird stuff that like doesn't really make sense or fit in anymore these days, and figure out the origins, figure out where they came from. Now, being that today happens to be a holiday celebrated by many, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about the moon, because the moon is a key point in many of our old holidays. As many of you know, the moon actually is like used as a calendar. Our whole sky is a calendar. Basics Phyllis just fed the jelly $5 and says thank you. Still here, even now. Hey, thanks, Basics Phyllis. You're awesome. All right, so we're gonna talk about the blue moon now. Here's what I want to start off with, okay? If you Google this, if you look this up, if you research this, every place I've ever seen on the internet, on my research, every time I've ever looked this up, basically says, we don't know why people say the moon is blue. We don't know where this expression comes from. Sometimes atmospheric phenomenon can occasionally create. I defy you. Google a real blue moon right now, and you're not going to find a lot of images. Not real ones. You'll see a lot of photoshopped ones and ones where they change the tint and stuff like that. But a real blue moon, hard to come by. Now, is the moon actually turning blue? See, that's the difference between the way we explain things away, and we say, oh yeah, well, every once in a while, this and that, it's just the atmosphere, and it really kind of just, it's an illusion, and it makes it look like the moon is blue. I'm talking about a real blue moon. Every once in a while, one time, per stretch of time, okay, per eon, I don't want to say millennia, because that's a specific amount of time, but once per age, the moon will turn blue. And we're going to talk about why it turns blue, what happens when it turns blue, where did it come from, why do people say once in a blue moon, and let's jump into it, I think. So, I'm going to go ahead and take off some of the pictures here. Bear with me while I navigate. Here we go. Picture. Boom. We'll take that off. Fa-pow. All right. Sweet. Now, let's do some... we're going to get pretty technical on this video. I just want to tell you, okay? So, hold on to your hats. Hold on to your seats. We're going to be creative, but we're also going to use a little reasoning skills and see if we can work out a couple of things. What am I looking for? Oh, slideshow. There it is. Boom. All right, sweet. So check this out. This is our slideshow. I've got this up. I want to start with the definition. Now, this is one of my favorite websites that I check out. I love etymology. Etymology is study of word origins, where they came from, what they mean, their roots, essentially, dividing up the roots of the words, the prefix, the root, the suffix, right? It's pretty simple. That's where a lot of our words come from today. I feel like we've lost a lot of our magic and our energy and our power because we've forgotten what the words even mean. What do those characters represent? What are those symbols? They're just symbols to you. Most people in the world today are naming their kids stuff that they don't even know what it means. They're just like, it sounds so cool. I just like that name. Or, you know what I mean? Which is fine, which is totally fine. But there's meaning in letters. There's meaning in names and words. So let's check this out. Blue moon. And I'm going to try to make this big so everybody can see it here. Fa-pow. Here we go. I know a lot of people are thinking of the song right now too, right? Blue moon. I'm actually going to talk about that here in a bit. All right, cool. I'm just going to read it on my side. It says blue moon. This is etymonline.com. It's an etymological website, you could say. So, blue moon, a long time. Okay, so like a long time before something like this ever happens. If it happens once in a blue moon, it happens in a long time. That's what's implied there, right? Starts off simple. Let's build a bridge. 1821. That's where they trace the root of that back to. I'm sure it goes back further than that. Often in phrases indicating something rarely occurring. Compare at the Greek kalend, which is where we get the word calendar, right? Keeping track of the time or the lights or the skies. Let's see here. From an ancient Roman phrase alluding to the fact that the Greeks had nothing corresponding to the Roman kalends, so they didn't use that word. And the native in the reign of Queen Dick and St. Geoffrey's Day, never there being no saint of that name. Okay, so there's no saint of that name going by a blue moon. It's not named after a saint or anything. Never mass. the date which never comes, okay, is from the 1540s. Blue moon is suggested earliest in this couplet from 1528. Oops. My bad. Anyways, and it says, if they say the moon is blue, we must believe that it is true. That's basically what it says. But you see this right here, how it says blue right there? Can you see that? See that word blue? Blue. That's actually the word blue, where the blue came from. They're not talking about a color per se. So we'll check out what blue. It's basically blue. All right, so that's the origin. A long time, right? We all know that. Once it happens, once in a blue moon. Not every once in a while when a blue moon happens. Not every once in a while when the phenomenon is just right. And it rarely happens, but it does happen from time to time. No, we're talking about a one-time event. One time per blue moon cycle, okay? Which is a long time. So let's talk about the word moon, all right? If you look up the word moon and its origins, you'll see that it's directly related to M-A-N. That's the root, okay? Not M-O-O-N. That's just how we pronounce it. Those vowels are to force us a certain pronunciation upon us, okay? M-U-N, M-O-N, M-A-N, also important. And also related to this word, moan, okay? Moan. Think about the moon and think about moaning. Can we find a correlation? I can. How about werewolves? How about regular wolves that just howl and moan at the moon, or people who are lunatics and people yell at the moon? I mean, it's a concept that's been out there for a while. It's a thing, as the younger folks would say. All right, let's see here. So let's make this bigger so you can see it. If you're just joining me, we're going over word origins. We're going to talk about the blue moon. We're going to start with some boring basic stuff. Then we're going to get into the fun stuff here in a bit. You'll want to stick around for that. All right. So, mon, lamentation. Remember, vowels in the ancient languages didn't really exist, okay? There was like maybe one all-encompassing vowel sound, which was ah, basically. And then it changed into all the other vowels, basically, okay? So, mon, lamentation. That means crying, right? Lamenting, mourning, weeping, complaining. The expressing of complaints. Let's pop this down a bit. The expressing of complaints. A lover's complaint, an accusation, a charge. Perhaps from an unrecorded Old English, man, we would say, or man, main. Complaint, from manan, a variant of menen. Complain, moan, blah, 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 blah. Tell, intend, signify. Ooh, do you see that one? Signify. I like that one. All right, so let's see here. Groaning or expressing pain, etc. Down here it says to lament. See that right there? To lament inarticulately. This is actually really important, okay? To moan. What does moan mean? To lament inarticulately, meaning you're not making a lot of sense, you're just making sounds that express what you're feeling, right? To grieve, to utter mournfully, probably from the Old English manan, a variant of menen, to lament, or menen. To complain, to tell one's troubles, to make a loud sound expressive of physical or mental suffering, moaning. This is why the moon is related and has attachments of such like dark concepts and sadness, and something bad happens when it's full moon and all this other stuff, right? This is where it comes from. M-N, essentially, or M-O-N, M-A-N. Now, moon, let's check out this definition. Oh, let's make it big so you can see it. Boom. All right, I'm just going to read it. Heavenly body which revolves around the earth monthly. Okay. Yep, commonly. Academia says that, right? A heavenly body which revolves around the earth monthly. That's what academia says. That's not what science says. I'm not one of those people that's just going to speak for all of science as if science is some sort of an entity all on its own. It's not. But that's what academics teach, okay? And there are academics that come from schools and they're just telling you what to believe, and they pass that on and they regurgitate it all the way on down. I'm not talking about learning. I'm not talking about scientists that are out there applying scientists, asking questions and applying the scientific method, and philosophers and things like that. I'm talking about academia. I totally went off on a tangent, didn't I? Anyways, so that's what they say. From the Proto-Germanic. Now this is where it gets fun. From German, basically, right? Like Old German. Menon. Mano. Mona. Ooh, do you see that one? Mona Lisa probably just came to mind, right? Old Norse, mani. Danish, man. Dutch, man. German, mond. Do you see that? That one right there is the key one. Where is it? I had it right here. Mond. You see that one? Monde. Monde. Like, monde. I guess you could say monde. But monde. The word monde, as we'll continue to learn here, means world. Okay? We live in la monde in French, right? It's the world. Monde, monde. There's different ways of pronouncing it, and that's where we get the word month, right? That TH is just a derivative of the D sound, or a hard T, or some other letters that all sound very similar, right? It means world in essence. It means realm, and that's what it means, okay? And there's some suffixes that have been added onto it, but monde, monde, mont, month. You can pronounce it however you like. It's all the same. It means world or realm. When you look up there and you're talking about the moon, you're not talking about a rock that just a quarter the size of our world that doesn't happen to crash into it and always faces the same way and all that weird stuff. No, we're talking about another world. A world is a place that's inhabited by beings. Okay, that's what makes it a world. Otherwise, it's just a place. It's just a location. A world is inhabited. The moon is inhabited. Why is the moon inhabited? Well, if you need some more information on this, I'm just gonna go with it, but I've done some other videos about it. The moon is the dome of the other world, our sister world that's right across from us. There are many worlds out there in the fractal verse. We are Earth number whatever. There's other Earths, other realms, other moons, other mons, terras, however you want to call it, right? There's all these different words. Let's keep reading. All right, so month, the Sanskrit, masa, moon, month, Avestan, Persian, ma, Armenian, mis, month, Greek, mene, moon, min, month, Latin, mensis. Oh, mensis, mensa, also that's like a state of mind. It's a world in your mind. What is your world? It's what you're thinking. It's your mensa, mental. It's things like that. Ment, mont, mount, mountain, right? That's the same exact thing. It's just mont with a suffix at the end, okay? Meaning like of the, right? Of the world. Mountain, full of world, full of earth, full of land, whatever you want to call it. Those are all the same. They're all very similar. They stem from the root me, which means to measure, in reference to the moon's phases as an ancient and universal measure of time. That could be one aspect. How about the greater clock that the Aztecs knew about? Maybe not measuring what it looks like in its little cycles, but what it looks like from one blue moon to another. That's like the greater clock, right? That's like the doomsday clock, basically. All right, let me read the rest of this real quick because I want to jump into the fun stuff. Oh, there's a lot of words on the screen. All right. A masculine noun in Old English. In Greek, Italic, Celtic, and Armenian, the cognate word now means only month. In Greek, Selene, or lesbian, Selena, is from Selas, meaning light or brightness. The heavenly bodies. The Old Norse had the Tungal moon. All right, I'm going to skip some of this stuff. You can check this out yourself. Let's move on to more fun stuff. I actually need to find some definitions. There's one more definition I want to go over. We're going to go over all this fun stuff that I have to show you. Why blue moon? If you look up why blue moon, here's one of the things that you'll come across, okay? For the longest time, nobody knew exactly why the second full moon of a calendar month was designated as a blue moon. Let me just translate what that means, okay? That means no one really knew, so they made up a definition. And they called one of the full moons or whatever, an extra full moon, a blue moon, right? Just like how we name all these moons, these big moons that we see, give them all these names. Those names come from something, okay? Something happened during those particular cycles. That's why it was named that. They're trying to say, oh, it's just blue because it's the odd one out. I don't buy that. That has nothing to do with the color of it. Like, it's not blue on the days that they call it a blue moon. So it's got to be blue. Anyway. One explanation connects it with the word belue. Belu. Belu. Like Baloo. For those Disney lovers out there, Baloo. One explanation connects it with the word belu, from Old English, meaning to betray. Perhaps, then, the moon was belu because it betrayed the usual perception of one full moon per month. Now that's them trying to explain it with the knowledge that they have. What if it was the betrayer moon because it was changing and it was signifying that our world was about to change? Our world is about to betray us, okay? And not only that, but we're going to talk about how the blue light in the sky can actually cause a lot of harm and can turn things on to fire. We'll get into that in a minute. So, Belu means it was a betrayal. It's a betrayer. There's something bad associated with that world up there. Something's happening with that world. It's turning blue. Why? All right. This goes on to say, basically, I'm just going to interpret the rest of this, but basically, we don't really believe that because, we feel like that person was wrong in their translation. Well, I think it sounds like a wonderful translation. Now, let's take a quick break and let's talk about what light looks like in its different color spectrums and temperatures, specifically the temperatures. And I also want to throw this out there. I might get a lot of this wrong as we go further because I'm going to show you guys some drawings that I've come up with and little models and stuff like that. They're not to scale. They're not perfect. Please, just they're for you to have a little picture concept of what I'm talking about. So anyhow, forgive me if I mess up on any of the information. All right, so let's check this out. This is what it looks like, right? How many people? Let's see if you can find some kind of an emoji, like a yellow emoji. How many people remember when the sun was yellow, right? Let's put some emojis, blow up the chat if you remember that the sun used to be yellow, okay? Or have a yellow tint to it, right? Lots of us can remember the sun back when it was like this color, right around this time frame. Maybe if you go further back, maybe even around there, if you're a little older, right? As we have moved, pretend like this is a chart of time. Say the last 100, 200 years, okay? As we have moved forward, the sun itself is getting brighter and hotter and brighter and whiter pretty soon until we're like, why is the sun white? But it's actually not white. It's moving into the blue spectrum, right? Why is this important? Well, all of you who love academics will recall that they taught you that the light from the moon in academia is basically the light from the sun. So whatever sun color the sunlight is, the moon will also be that color. It has to, according to that teaching, right? I also believe that they are interrelated, just in a different way. I'll show you and I'll give you an example here in a minute, okay? But basically, the moon itself, many of you might remember the moon being yellow. Why else would it be made out of cheese, right? They're not talking about bright, insanely white cheese or whatever, right? It was made out of cheese because it looked like it was yellow. Or maybe sometimes when it starts to get in this end of the spectrum, it's like blue cheese. It's that kind of rotten cheese that I don't like very much. I don't know how you guys eat that. I like blue cheese crumbles and salad and stuff. I don't know why, but I will not eat real blue cheese. Gross. Anyways, I digress. So this is what the sun looks like. This is what lights look like when they get hotter and hotter and hotter. So you may remember the temperatures are getting hotter and hotter and hotter, right? As time goes on, they're like, oh, it's global warming, this and that. The temperature's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And we see a correlation with the color of the light in our sky, and therefore the light in the rest of the world. Seems to me, and this might just be me, I have to put on sunglasses anytime I step outside for the most part. If it's daytime, like everything is so lit up and so bright, there's white light bouncing off of everything, and it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter every summer. That doesn't mean every year, all throughout the year it's getting hotter and hotter. I'm going to show you why it's getting hotter and hotter and why it's getting colder and colder in some places too. But I want you to have a good concept of what the colors of light look like as they get hotter and hotter. This is degrees in Kelvin, okay? So right around here is like hot enough to melt silver, and it's super hot. Just like in the Bible, how it talks about in the end times, the elements themselves will melt with fervent heat. This is the kind of heat we're going to be talking about coming from the sky, and we're going to talk about what that looks like too. All right, hold on one sec. I got to go through this just to make sure I covered everything. I hope it's getting a little more interesting now that we're getting a good foundation and we're gonna roll into the fun stuff. That's what I like. Okay, so let me check my notes. All right, so we talked about the origin of the blue moon. I'm gonna get to this picture here in a minute because it's actually super important. Here's another one. That's a fun one too. Same thing. We talked about the origin of the blue moon, the origin of the word moon itself, to basically complain, to moan, to give a sign. All of these things are related to the moon, which is another world. It's le monde. It's mont. It's the moon. It's the world out there, right? On the other side. And it comes from mi, or ma, which essentially the root means light, right? So ma'on means of the light, right? So together, those lights up there, or those things that are of the lights, are other worlds, in essence. Now, I don't really have the same perception that the actual lights that we see are other worlds. I think that light comes from the other side, which is the heavens, which is bright and beautiful and full of things, not like space, which is empty and black like we've been taught. But I've got some other videos about that. Hey, I just want to take a second to welcome everybody in the chat. What's up, everybody? Armando, Lisa, Yamate. Right on. Water is eternal. I saw you join earlier. Thank you for your support. All right, let's move on to some other cool stuff. Okay, let's see here. Am I ready for that one yet? We talked about blue and the word belue, right? Which is implying that there's something off. There's something different, something wrong, right? We talked about the wavelengths of the light. So now the next thing I need to do before I get into all this advanced stuff, we're going to talk about the deserts around the world. Let's talk about, yes, this is probably good. All right, cool. So I made a little diagram here in my, all day yesterday, basically I was working on all this stuff. I made a little diagram. This is, forgive the crudeness of it, but this is essentially the plasma tube above us, or the plasma, whatever you want to call it, that's spiraling down, that's coming from out there, hitting the dome, being repelled by the strong magnetic force around us, which is a confinement dome, right? Because of the shape of the world and our surroundings and other things like that. So that plasma actually wraps around. So I probably should have drawn it hitting the dome and sort of wrapping around, if you could imagine that. It wraps all the way around, all the way around. And it's all spinning in one direction. So that's important to keep in mind. That light from the plasma, though, is allowed to pass through. The plasma can't pass through physical objects because it's physical, but the light itself can pass through. Ooh, that sounded way better. I should get closer to the mic more often. All right. Anyway, so the light passes through. That's represented by these yellow lines here, okay? Because they hit the dome and they refract inward at an angle because it's a convex lens, okay? They refract inward, and this point at which they meet is what many of you call the sun. It's a point of focus in the sky. That light continues on and is redistributed down to the ground below, which you call sunlight, okay? This is daytime. This is a huge spotlight just up there right in our world, okay? Whatever you believe, I know academics teaches the sun is like trillions or whatever, super far away. Not according to my research, and that's totally fine if you don't believe it, so I respect that. But I believe this can work no matter what you believe in. There's always a way, basically. Anyway, so that light comes in, it hits a focal point, and that focal point is moving in circles around because this light up here is moving in circles around. So all the light is corresponding to one another. This light will go around in circles, giving you little patches of what we call daytime, right? Moving about around our world. Now, if that tube above us, this plasma right here, pulsates, which I believe it does, that means that it goes like this. It goes as it's spinning and stuff. Keep in mind, it sort of pulsates, which means it has a maximum amount, the widest that it gets around us. Like let's pretend that's the maximum right there, okay? And then it has its minimum amount, right? Now, when it gets to minimum and it crosses over what it normally does on its minimal parts, that is a sign to us, because we can see the results of that in our world. That's a sign to us that that tube above us is constricting. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and what that means is essentially it will disappear, which means the sun will disappear. The light inside that comes from that will disappear because that plasma will no longer be focused downward, coming down onto our world. Instead, it'll go in flux. It'll go everywhere, all over the place. So we get darkness for a little while. Okay, now that's the basics of it. Now, if you go back a slide, you can see how I colored it yellow because it's got a wider angle and it's not as hot. But whenever that tube above gets tighter and the light gets faster, then it gets more focused, which means what we call daytime down here also gets more focused or smaller. Our days get shorter. Time shrinks for us, and we have to start messing with our times and our clocks and all that stuff, right? What it also means is that I'm talking about the sun right now, and I should probably explain the second slide here. I forgot to put the inner dome. So I definitely believe that the sky is solid up there, okay, made out of ice. I go over all of that and like how it's all done in some of my other videos, so please don't ask me in the comments how it's done in this one. Just go check out those other videos first if you'd like. Thank you. So anyways, there's another dome, okay? There's a couple of domes. Boom. So this one is the older dome that still has a hole in the top from the last time that the world depressurized. But then a new dome was created as our world grew. That's the short version, okay? So keep in mind that when this light goes in and hits the first dome, some of it is going to refract off and hit the second dome and then refract, okay? Creating an alternate path for that light source and where its point of focus is going to be. And some of it will pass right through this hole in the very top, which I call affectionately Rahu. It's going to pass right through this hole in the top of the first, the inner dome, right? So that light's not going to refract a second time, and it's going to make another point of focus somewhere else in our sky, okay? So basically what that means is the light that comes down is more hot and more focused, and it's faster. It starts to turn blue, okay? It goes from yellow to a sort of yellowy white to a super light blue to a lighter blue to a darker blue, essentially. And our daytime gets shorter and shorter and shorter, right? And it will move about, and the moon will also correspond, okay? Because the moon is a reflection. Do you see this dome right here? Okay, I'm trying really hard to like make this real simple and build bridges for many of you. This dome, our sky, the heavens, okay, whatever you like to call it, there's another one across from us. Way over here is probably a little further than that. Actually, I think I drew a picture to help you out. Hold on. Yeah, let me just get into this picture over here. Okay, boom. This is a crude drawing. I'm actually going to have to make this a little smaller for you. Oh, can I do it? I can. Sweet. Okay, cool. Jeez. Got too much stuff on the screen. All right, check this out. So this is a crude drawing of our world and our sister world across from one another, okay? This is us over here, we'll say. Okay, right below me, that's our world, we'll say. We are upside down to them, and they are upside down to us, okay? This is the top portion of our world. This is our sky, and then you got your land down here, okay, on the side. So, like, basically you would actually want to flip it up this way. I wonder if I could do that. There's always a way. Check me out. All right, hold on. This is fun. One sec. Can I make that bigger? Oh, I sure can. All right, cool. I'm glad I did that. All right, so this is my little drawing. This is our world down here. Can I move that? How do you get that out of the way? Nope. Gee whiz. One sec. Sorry. This is an experimental thing I'm doing here. Boom. Alright, I can't be too picky because people are watching, right? Lock. Oh, there it is. Boom. Yes, thank goodness. Alright, cool. Anyway, it should go away. Alright, sweet. So, thank you for your patience and let me do that. I'm very, particular. I like it to look good. Anyways, so, you see how I drew Mount Meru at the bottom. Okay, so Mount Meru, the center of our world, that's Rupus Negra. I couldn't really draw it black because it's got a black background. But that's Rupus Negra. That's the middle of our world. That's the cradle of civilization, if you want to call it that. Many different things. That's where the plasma shoots out. The blue beam that shoots up, it's actually happening on the other world, on our sister world, on the moon right now. In the moon, I should say, okay? In that world, okay? On the other side of their dome, they have the blue filling it all up. Their plasma is coming downwards towards us, wrapping around their world, giving them a red sky, which is why I kind of made it red on the sides there. And it's coming our way. That plasma is coming this way, turning around in this direction, hitting our dome. That light is passing through and creating the sun and the moon, essentially, right? All right, cool. Oh, and then I also kind of drew like how the plasma looks. It's not just like one beam. There's probably a real strong beam, but then it kind of floats around like Rupus Negra because it's repelled by a magnetic force, and that's the biggest mountain in the world, right? That's why our compasses point towards it. So it'll go around that, creating sort of legs and stuff and arms up here and stuff like that. Anyways, all right, so, oh, hey, I just got a donation from LMC. And he said, worlds collide, Mandela effect. I totally agree. This is where you get DC and all that type of symbolism as well. Watch, let me flip this back around. You'll see it. Boom. So all you have to do is put those two worlds a little closer together, and you've got like DC, and this is where they get District of Columbia and DC Comics and all that stuff. That's where the DC symbolism lies, which is also why like on DC hats or like the clothing, if you know what I'm talking about, the D has a hole in it. Anyways, I'll have to show that another time. All right, let's get into some other pictures here. So, what was I talking about? Man, I feel like I'm getting off topic. All right, so I wanted to show you that picture and give you like an example of what is happening. So, now what we're going to do is we're going to go to camera 2 real quick. I got to show you something on camera 2. All right, cool. We're here on camera 2. Now, let me take off this little swirly I just drew. How do you... There we go. Boom. Okay, cool. All right, so this is our world. This is the azimuthal equidistant map of our Earth, our realm, okay, from the top down. I'm not saying it's accurate or perfect or anything like that. I'm just using this as an example, okay? And like I said, I could be off on all parts of this. But if you take a look at our world, let's say that there was a blue beam of daylight or an intensified daytime. Hold on, let me come back here. I gotta look at you guys. No! Okay, my bad. Sorry about that. Pressed the wrong button. All right, so listen. Whenever that tube above us shrinks and gets smaller, it creates essentially a gigantic laser. Okay, I'm not gonna say it is a laser, but the daytime gets hot. Okay, we can only stand up to like, I don't know, 150 degrees for a short amount of time before we'll burn and stuff and start. It'll be bad. Okay, you can't survive in that kind of sunlight when it's that hot. So the sun will start to turn blue in the sky. There will be less and less and less and less nighttime, and the sun is getting tighter and tighter and tighter as it revolves. Almondo! Thank you, Almondo. Hey, right on, Almondo. Cheers to you, buddy. Where's my water? Oh, here we go. Cheers to you, bro. Anyways, so let me give you an example. Basically, what the sun does is... Where did it go? Hold up, that's not what I want to see. No? No? Oh, 1 second. Sorry. Video. Picture. Okay, that's already off. Boom. Ah. Okay, I gotta show that to you. Is it this one? Yes. Okay, sweet. Now. Oh, yeah, I was on camera 2. No wonder. Okay, let's go back to camera 2. Look at that on the thing. Alright, so we're going back to camera 2. Basically, in a nutshell, here's what happens. I'll respect anybody's intelligence level, and I'll just get right to the point, okay? The blue beam, or the hot daytime that starts to melt things and is dangerous and cause fires around the world, let's just pretend like it starts over here. Boom. And it moves about, and it hits over here. Do you see how the deserts of our world are starting to correspond already? Australia, boom. South Africa, boom. South America, boom. But it goes inward because that's how the sun works, right? When it's summertime, it's like a real tight circle right here in the middle, right? When it gets towards wintertime, it gets further and further away. So as it's doing this, why won't it let me draw on this? Oh, because I took it away. Duh. All right, well, let's just bring it back. Actually, no, I'll make a new layer. All right, cool. So check this out. As it's going around, boom, it starts to get hot. Let's just say it starts in Australia. Sorry, Australia. I don't mean it. It's not personal. Anyways, then it hits, boom, the tip over here. You see how the deserts, the land is baked and full of sand and glass and all kinds of weird stuff, right? Now my little spiral is not perfect here, okay, but it starts spiraling inward, and then this is about where it goes further than it should, because usually it stops right about here, but it keeps on going. And it keeps getting more and more north as it spirals. And eventually, it'll find its way home. Right there to the middle, okay? Now, I wanted to show you that. Let me go ahead and get rid of that spiral. Come on, work with me, computer. All right, boom. All right, so here's the other spiral. Go ahead and check it out. Visible. Pow. Okay, cool. So this is one I already drew prior to this video, all right? This is kind of like the sun moving around, and as it gets hot enough that it starts to burn things because that beam is so focused that you can see it in the deserts of our world and the dry and arid places in our world. It's left its mark. And if I take this away, you can still see where it was. Check this out. You still see it there? Boom, right? All right, cool. That was fun. Let's go back. Where am I? What is that? Oh, it's my water. Okay, so anyways, I wanted to show you guys that so you can see that there's evidence on our world itself, right, that follows this type of thing. Now, this is when the sun, first of all, you have the blue moon. It's a portent of evil because, let's face it, a lot of crazy changes happen in our world that many of you are going to be totally terrified and scared of, okay? I'm not. And I think others won't be either because there's always good, there's always balance, there's always bad, there's always everything in between. It's just sudden change on a worldwide scale that's going to freak most of you out, okay? So, I wish you the best. I hope you go into it prepared with a good heart and mind and body and spirit and everything. And if not, good luck. Good Loki. Anyways. So, remember like in, well, you know what? I got something else I want to show you too. About the moon. But remember, have you guys ever seen like the Chronicles of Riddick? That movie with Vin Diesel where he had the glow in the dark kind of blue eyes, right? Which we've talked about. All right, what was I going to show here? Let's do Booyah. All right, cool. Let's make that bigger. And unlock it, pal. There we go. All right, cool. I'm just going to run this in the background for a bit so you can have a visual there. So imagine that that's the dome, okay? That prism, that glass, he's going to add some more to it. That's the sky, we're going to say, okay? You have to kind of turn this upside down to get a better image. But the plasma comes in, hits the dome, the physical part passes around, the light goes in and refracts at an angle, just like I was talking about earlier. I just wanted to give you a good visual so you cannot just take my word for it and my sad drawings, but you can check it out for yourself. Anyways, so remember like on the Chronicles of Riddick, okay, there was crematoria, that one episode when they got stuck on crematoria. Crematoria represented this part of the plasma apocalypse, right? Okay, first of all, you've got two different plasma apocalypse. The one where that pulse on top, remember the plasma tube on top, when it expands more than it normally does, and then it goes into flux. Then you've got the one where it contracts more than it normally does, and then you've got the beam, okay? The death sun, I don't know, I don't have a cool name for it or anything, but you've got killer daytime, basically, is what you have. What else was I going to say? Oh, but anyways, that's why they were all trying to outrun the sunlight or whatever on that world. That wasn't some alien world. That's just alien to us. It's showing us this is going to happen to your world. This happens on every world, essentially. Or probably not every world. I don't want to go there. But many, I believe. Okay, if other worlds follow suit with ours, it stands to reason that this would also happen on other worlds. In different ways, right? Different experiences and stuff, different conditions. But anyhow, they're all outrunning the daytime. Like when it's the apocalypse, if you ever see a movie, like there was this one movie I saw where they were in an airplane and they were like flying west, and the sunrise was like just behind them, and they started getting all these reports that people were dying in the sunlight and all this stuff, and they have to stay out of the sunlight and hide and get underground and stuff. And even sometimes some people that hit underground, they were still dying as well. Anyway, that's the same concept. When you're out running the sunlight like that because you're afraid it's going to burn you or something, that's not some fantastic, crazy concept that will never happen, could never happen. Somebody just made it up and it's interesting. It's interesting because it's true. It does happen. We're being reminded of it from time to time. Now, let's talk about this down here. This is a good example of how the moon works, because I want to talk about the moon for a second, okay? along with believing that the sky is physical and solid and that there is our atmosphere on the inside of it. Who dat guy Jay just fed the jelly $10 and says, "You're one of the best to do it, Jay." Oh, hey, thanks, man. That was very kind. Thank you. So anyways, do you see how like there's a magnifying glass or whatever in this video, right? And there's that light that's coming from the candle. Imagine that light is the light that's coming from our sister world up there. The plasma is coming towards us, hitting that magnifying glass or our dome, our lens of our world, right? And then creating an image on the other side. That's called a real image because it's made with a convex lens, right? And it's just far enough away. You can do experiments to figure it out on a small scale, how the sky works and how everything works on the larger macroscopic scale. You can do these experiments just with the candle, how you saw, right? And depending on how far away the source was from the dome or the lens and the object that it's hitting, which I believe is our actual atmosphere up in the sky, and then it creates a smaller image or a larger one depending on how far away it is, right? And we can tell, and we can actually use mathematics and some concepts that academia has given to us, which are useful. They want us to use it to count your change at McDonald's, but we can use it for something better, right? Anyways, using certain formulas and stuff like that, we can actually, I don't know what they are. That's what I'm saying. I hate math. I don't even like it, but it doesn't mean I'm against it. I support it. So if you're a math techie, by all means, you can use these things to just figure out how big the world is and how big the sun is and the past and all this stuff. You can figure it out. Anyway, what was my point? I'm nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous. So yes, anyways, the sun goes around setting things on fire in a little spiral as it gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter until it hits the North Pole. At which point in time, that sunlight that's coming down will go into the plasma volcano, Rupus Negra, right? The opening in the middle of our world that leads to the entrance to the inner Earth or the inside of our world, because actually we live more on like the outside. If the world was a house, we'd live like in the attic, basically. Like I believe that like the actual world, the way that it's set up, the good stuff to the world is on the inside of it, but that's just me. Excuse me. Okay, that's enough of these examples. I hope that this helped you to understand. And one more thing I do want to tell you is if you look at this particular example right here, right? You see how big that image is on the paper? That means that the moon, if the moon is the candle, is too close. It's got to be further away. Otherwise, our moon in the sky would be huge and blurry, right? Stands to reason. If it works like that on the small scale, now watch what happens when you take it further away. The image flips and turns upside down. And he's only gonna ever see one side of that image because it's just an image being, projected, right? We only see one side of the moon. It's projected to us, and it's up there in the sky, not something you can land on. Okay, just you can land on the moon as much as you can land on a hologram or a light or a laser. Like Almondo, hey, donated $5. Thank you. Another $5. Thanks, Almondo. You guys are sweet, man. I appreciate your giving me money and stuff to show your appreciation. That's called support, and I appreciate it. All right, let's get rid of this guy. He's been up there for long enough. I feel like you guys get the point on that one. And let me check my notes, too. All right, so we talked about the blue light wavelength, right? And how the light, as it gets hotter and that tube that creates the light source gets smaller and smaller, what we call daytime has more and more focused light. What does that mean for us? Summers are going to get really hot. Record-breaking summers, super, super hot to the point where it's going to start causing problems, okay? For some people. It depends on where you live. Remember, it only goes in that little spiral on the world. So you might be in between spirals or in between the path, and it could be okay for you. So anyways, we talked about the blue light wavelength, how the sun used to be yellow, the moon used to be yellow, the sun is now turning white, the moon is super white, right? And bright, way brighter, which is another thing. You're going to have another thing like that. Randy Beltran. Hey, he's got a big he's flexing in the chat. Randy Beltran just donated $5 and gave me a sticker. Thanks, Randy. So we talked about the light the focus, the changing of the color. The moon was made of cheese. Now it's just white and blindingly white. No one seems to have noticed for some reason. I do every single night. When it takes my eyes about 15 seconds to adjust to the brightness of the moon so that I can see the craters and stuff like I used to, I know something's wrong. I know that moon's too bright. It's too white. It should be more yellow. I know this, okay? It's not Mandela effect or anything. It's just the world is changing. And people are just not accepting it. They just accept whatever they see at the time. And then they make excuse instead of trying to figure it out. It's easier for them. What else? Desert glass. You guys ever hear like that glass that they find in the desert? Or like, you know, if lightning hits, you know, like the beach or something, it'll create these weird like pieces of glass or artwork. You know, people use them for artwork and stuff like that. That's what happens. That's why you find glass in the desert. And, you know, academics tries to say things like, oh, it's because of a comet, bro. A comet smashed into the sand. Like, bro, no, what? There's no indentations from comets hitting in the desert. I don't see that anywhere, okay? I just see a bunch of baked earth everywhere. What? Comet theory? Stop. Stuff is falling. Yes, stuff does fall from the sky, okay? There's a neutral point up there where gravity, as we call it, is basically neutralized and zero, and then it flips around and goes that way the closer you get to the dome or the top part. So yeah, there's a neutral point. You could float. There's probably floating mountains and I don't know, all kinds of weird stuff up there past the focal point that we can't see past, okay? We can't really see past it unless there's light on the other side in the form of stars, which are other little focal points in the weak parts of the dome that are, anyways, I don't get too into that much. All right, checking the notes. The desert path. We talked about the path that the sun goes around, right? Hey, let me bring out my picture again. This is the subject anyway. What else did we talk about? I'm going to jump in the chat too. I'm super sorry I haven't been in the chat, but I'm really interested in what you guys have to say. So if you want to start asking some questions or just making some comments and you want to catch my attention, type in @JDreamers and I'll totally just be in the chat here in just a second. We talked about the Chronicles of Riddick and those other movies where people are like outrunning the daylight, basically. Staying away from the light, staying away from the day or whatever. I know it's too bright, okay? Imagine if you're not even from this world, how bright this light would be, basically, right? If you're not used to this focused light on you all the time. That's the symbolism with like God being a bully and holding the magnifying glass and burning ants or whatever, you know, like there's truth in everything. There's truth to that. Does it mean that, you know, whatever God you believe in is it really a bully or anything? No, it totally doesn't. It's just perspective. But those are the things that happen, and they're amazing. What else? We talked about outrunning or hiding from the daylight. I would recommend if this happens to you, okay, my initial thought is get away. Like I don't know how else to explain that. You know, you definitely don't want to be caught outside in the direct light of whatever this is. So I haven't looked into surviving the deadly sunlight type of thing, but the movies give us a lot of really good clues. You know, run, run. If you're in that path, get out of that path. You know what I mean? If you see that it's getting way too hot, you might want to just relocate or something. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there. Okay? I don't know all the answers to all that. I'm just sharing with you what comes to me. Yeah, Chronicles of Riddick, super good. I love that scene when they're outrunning it and he puts water on himself and he's all got his goggles on and he like does this swinging move to like save the girl who's like about to get burned by the crematorian sun or whatever, sunrise. It's pretty sweet. The Great Winter. Oh, let's talk about that too, right? So either way, no matter which plasma apocalypse happens, we're going to have a great winter, okay? No, I don't have to bring it back up. If we have, remember we're that plasma tube above our world, okay? Or you could call it the plasma sphere if you're an academic or whatever. All these things, there's truth to everything, okay? Make it fit however you want to. If the words bother you, don't let them bother you. Change the words, okay? Just see the truth behind the words, okay? That's all I'm asking. Anyway, the Great Winter. That's right. So, like I said, daytime's going to get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, or all that daylight, right? That's the difference between like a laser and how much it illuminates stuff and a flashlight, right? Your flashlight is your daytime that we used to have, which was a lot, and then it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which means the daytime that's moving around our world is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which means the nighttime or the darkness that you see at the end of the day that's sort of tagging along, or just before the beginning of the day, the darkness that's sort of leaving, that's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, which means smaller and smaller and smaller of a circle of what you call daytime, right? And Jesus did talk about one of the signs is that, you know, you should keep track of the days and how much time is in a day, because you'll have less time in a day, basically. And if a day is how much sunlight is hitting the ground and illuminating where we are underneath it, it's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. The days get smaller and smaller and smaller, right? To the point at which eventually you'll be able to see, right? Imagine it gets super small, and this is where it would be real hot during the daytime. You would have the darkness fading. Let's say it's like 4 o'clock in the morning or something, right? The darkness starts to fade, 5, 6, I don't know. Darkness fades, the light's starting to come in, but right around noon, when the sun is right above, or that focal point is right above, you can see the darkness that was leaving, and you can see the darkness that is on the way, okay? The day will be a very short day, okay? So that's whenever the sun is moving around. The blue moon is the world above us that's changing colors as well, right? We're going to see it turn blue as that tube gets smaller and smaller, or the light changes, then we see the moon start to turn blue. Is it going to happen this time? I don't know. I have some ideas. I'm watching the moon. I'm watching the sun. Okay. I feel like there's actually bluish tint to the moon. That's what made me even come up with all of this stuff. I stare at the moon often. I stare at the stars, the moon. I talk to them. I ponder. I meditate. I figure things out just by pacing around or staring at the stars. Okay. Look at the moon. I look at the sun on occasion. I don't just stare at the sun all day long, but I look at the sun. And when I look at the moon, I see a shade of blue, like this color. Okay. I see that, and I see how bright it is. And I start wondering, what's going on here? Why could this be happening? How could this be happening? What's going on? What does it mean for me? These are signs and wonders that happen around our world that the wise of the world take into consideration. And we're like, okay, that means something. And if I know what that means I'm better prepared. That means I have a leg up on everybody else. Ish, right? There's always chance. There's always luck. There's always destiny. There's always whatever. I'm just saying it's good to know. It's good to know what that means. That's about it. Was that it? Did I have anything else? I thought I shared. Did I have anything else I want to share? How about all these pictures? Let me go over these pictures again. Oh, yeah, and in the chat, too. Sorry. Okay, cool. Hey, thanks for all your support, too. I'm glad you guys are jumping in the chat and participating, and I love the comments. Oh, my God, the past 3 videos I've made, wow, like, the comments are just amazing. Like, I don't know what's going on, but lots of really good in-depth ideas and positivity and encouraging words and people helping each other out and stuff. Thank you all for being so amazing. I love it. All right, let me go back to these pictures. Where are the pictures? Here they are. Not that one. Not that. Slideshow? Yes. Okay, cool. All right, here's my little slideshow. Boom. I just want to make sure I didn't skip anything because I took a long time to set up all this stuff. Oh, this one's fun too, right? So if you ever see this type of stuff happening in the sky, okay, I live in Colorado, so we see it often whenever it's a clear day up in the mountains and stuff, and there's little, snow blowing around. You can see stuff like this. There's names for all these little different points of light, but there's also reasons why you see this happening in our sky. And this is just one example, okay? You see the light passing through the glass here, this convex lens, etc., making a little focal point, etc. It's the microcosmic and the macrocosmic. It's the mesocosm here that connects the two. You can learn from a glass of water. You can learn from any of this stuff about the world you live in, about yourself. Here's a map of those desert regions, like I wanted to show you real quick. Right? This is just a weird map. This isn't like, this is a weird looking rectangle map or whatever. But as you can see, the path goes whoosh in a little semicircle, and then it connects over here because obviously you can't see the water burnt or whatever, right? And then it goes up this way. And then there's another secondary path where it kind of clips down here, and then most of Australia. I'd say there's something to that, right? All right, so we talked about my little diagram that I made there. Not to scale or anything. There's a little fire down there. Do you see that? I tried to put a little fire down there. Yes, but that's why the moon is turning blue. And this is why stuff happens once in a blue moon. Weird stuff happens once in a blue moon. Miracles happen once in a blue moon. They don't happen when the atmospheric conditions are right every now and then, etc. No, they happen once in a blue moon. Okay? During the time of the blue moon, strange things happen. Stuff goes down in this world. Some of you will experience the miraculous. Very awesome and amazing things. Some of you will moan, yell out, cry out to the heavens and the sky. Why me? What's going on? Make it stop. It all depends on your walk and your perspective. It depends on who you are. It depends on how you see things and what's real to you. So, that's why I wanted to talk about it. I like to sort of give everyone a mental preparation for these types of things and encourage everyone to think outside of the box, to come up with your own ideas, to see the world in your own way. Hey, there's an electric tardigrade and hanging out right above the dome. DB fed the jelly and says, thank you. I saw this yesterday when going out for a walk in Ontario, Canada. The sun looked like a giant eye. You know what is else? You know, I don't know why that reminded me. Thank you for your donation too. I don't know why that reminded me. I watched Beastmaster, this old movie, last night. I just like rewatched it for the millionth time. Those plant things are totally in it. Those things that go whoosh, and they wrap you up. What was it called? Cobra plant or something like that. They were like just giant ones. It's amazing. They have a ring, a magic ring, and it's got an eyeball. And there's these witches, these hot witches that have like real messed up faces and stuff. Super good movie. But I'm kind of I'm digressing. Almondo, what are you doing? Thank you. Almondo's just loving it. Thank you. I appreciate you, man. That's cool. Oh, and here's also some of my diagrams as well. So let me just kind of share some of these with you. Let's see. So this starts off on that side. And that's, well, why do I have it all sideways? I don't know why I drew that sideways. That was just, there we go. Okay, so here's our world down here, right? Boom. We're down here. And this is sort of, I don't want to hover over that bottom part because it'll bring up that little menu thing again. But as you can see, and also I just want to throw this out there. I'm not sure, I haven't kind of figured out in my mind which one of those dots is the moon and which one of those dots is the sun, okay? And I have a feeling based on the double dome and the broken dome. I love the phrase broken dome. It's like one of my favorite things to say right now. Anyways, but based on that, you're going to have two different objects, right? And you might, like for example, the light from the sun might actually be projecting the image of the moon onto our world. I don't know. I'm just kind of like thinking of things on the fly. All I'm saying is, it seems to me that there are a couple, 2 or 3 different circles up there in our world, and I have tried to figure out where they come from based on ancient and forgotten cosmology that the whole world once shared. Not because the whole world was stupid and ignorant and a bunch of cavemen that couldn't understand anything, and yet they built the pyramids, and yet they built the great libraries of the world, and yet they did all these things that we can't replicate today. I don't see ancient men moan. I don't see them like that. Anyways, so this is Mount Meru down there at the bottom. There we go. You see that? And then I drew like a little double dome action, boom, going over here. And then the plasma is coming down. Now imagine this is going to reverse. So let's say this is our world. After our apocalypse, let's just reverse it. Boom. Now this is our world down here. And you'll see that the wise men will start to follow the blue star, which is the sun, which is what they teach in academics as well, right? All these things have corresponding truths. It just falls to us to sort of untie the knot. Okay, somebody took the truth and just tied it up into a knot. That's what I think. But academics teaches that there's a red giant. Well, guess what? If we flip this around and we go back to our blue sky world, okay? This is the blue sky. This over here is the red giant, okay? This is their light source. Their whole sky is a light source. It's a red sky. It's all lit up. The whole sky's lit up. The dome's lit up, okay? But that comes down our way, hits our dome, and gives us our blue sky, our blue world, which is the red versus the blue. Let's see. Man, what else was I going to talk about? Oh, but anyway, so this is where we live, and if we flip it around, after our plasma apocalypse, we'll be in this world, essentially, right? And their world will start losing all of its energy. They'll get the blue sky effect, and they'll have a little point of focus and stuff like that. Meanwhile, down here, our world is filling up with magic, because this plasma inside of the world will shoot up, hit the dome, and start filling our world with energy, basically, right? And this is all spinning. Keep that in mind. It's really hard to draw three-dimensional, like, to give people an idea. But this is all spinning. All this plasma, everything is spinning and spiraling, basically, right? And so we see that corresponding. What else do we have? Did I miss anything else? Oh, it's all sideways now. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Oh, blue, belue. That's why it's called the blue moon. It's really not I mean, if it is blue, it turns blue, and maybe that's where we get that from, is because of that lamentation. Oh, the moon is turned into a traitor. Like, oh man, like, it used to support us, it used to be good, and now it's a portent of evil. It's a portent of things changing. It's a sign. It's an omen. All of those things. We talked about the different light temperatures as well. Go further. I don't know how much further to go. Do you guys have any questions? I probably missed all kinds of stuff. I feel like when I do my live streams, there's always stuff I'm like, oh, I totally forgot to talk about that. Like the desert glass. I almost forgot to mention the desert glass. I was saying it to myself earlier, like, don't forget the desert glass, because that's really weird, right? The glass in the desert. All right, let's see. I'm back in the chat now. Let's hang out for a bit. Oh, it's Easter today. Let me take all this stuff off the screen so we can just have regular. Booyah. There we go. So today's Easter, as you might call it. Okay, I didn't want to really do like an Easter special and all that type of stuff. All of what we call are the holy days, or the set apart days. Most people don't even know. Like, it's just become monotonous repetition, year to year repetition. We're celebrating stuff, we have no idea why. Basically, we're just taking days off of being slaves, all right? But all of these holy days, or set apart days, are days that we marked as particular times when certain events had or will happen, have happened or will happen as well. By the way, I also saw Godzilla versus Kong. I might have to break that movie down, because there's a lot of cool stuff in there. They have the Hollow Earth. They've got the Leap of Faith. Oh my God, the Leap of Faith scene was awesome. They got all kinds of stuff in that movie. And some people were talking about it on my Facebook group as well. So it was pretty cool. What else did I see too? Oh my God. Okay, check this out. After I did that video about Plants vs. Zombies, I watched The Ruins. I'd never seen that before. Like, it just kind of came up in my research, and I heard some people mention it. So I was like, I'm going to check that movie out. Oh, that's the scariest killer plant movie I've ever seen, right? Mostly because it was creeping me out. Like, certain scenes were just creeping me out. But yeah, that was well done. Whew, that was pretty good. And it totally corresponded with the things that I was talking about, as far as the plants and everything. And whenever they touch, there was a pyramid in there, and it was covered in plants. There's almost anytime you see the pyramid in these movies, it represents Rupus Negra, or the center of our world, the opening to the inner earth, etc. They've got it in Aliens versus Predator. Is it called Aliens versus Predator? Predator versus Aliens, whatever it's called. But yeah, that was a sweet movie, man. It was really interesting, and I love how the plants just take control. I always wondered what the vegetarians see. That's something I forgot to ask in my Plants vs. Zombies videos. What does the vegetarians think about this? Like, when all these meat-eating humans have all this wonderful plants around to eat, and the vegetarians are like, yeah, you should totally eat the vegetables and the plants. And then one day, whoosh, the plants turn and start eating the humans. Interesting. Might call that ironic, I guess. Okay, let me jump back in the chat. I'm sorry. Let me catch up here. Almondo is in the chat. What's up, dude? I like your picture. That's cool. Mother Dragon. Maria Becos. Lisa Post. Does anybody have any questions about what we're talking about the moon turning blue, the concept once in a blue moon? Hopefully I've made that make sense. So that it makes complete sense that certain miracles and strange events, right? The miraculous, the unheard of, happens once in a blue moon, okay? Because a blue moon only happens once, All right, like there's only one time period when the blue moon will happen, when the blue sun will arrive. And that is the wise men story too, right? As the wise men move about, hold on, let me bring up the picture one more time. I have to show you. Where is it? Is this one? No, that's not it. Is it this one? Could be. Let's see. All right, don't let me forget. I'm trying to talk about the wise men. Okay, I'll use this one right here as an example. The world or whatever. Remember how I said, like, let's just pretend. I just picked a random spot out here. Okay, it could be over here. It could be wherever. But way out towards the edge. You have the killer daylight. I'm just going to call it the killer daylight. Why not? Killer daylight, boom. Starts getting super hot. Boom. Turns up the heat on Australia. Boom. Turns up the heat on South America. Boom. Turns up the heat on Africa. My bad. And then it comes over here, right? So keep in mind it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller as it goes, right? So you'll start off with a real wide beam that's getting really hot. And as it spirals around and gets tighter, and that spiral gets tighter and tighter, the daylight's getting more and more focused, right? So it's getting smaller and smaller as it goes around, and hotter as it goes around, right? Now, some of these other areas, like Baja California and stuff, you might have it regrow. It's surrounded by water, you know what I mean? So, like, yeah, it's not going to be a total desert. But over here, you're going to have more desert, dry, arid regions when you have a lot of land and not a lot of water. But eventually, when it gets small enough in the sky, you'll see, basically, it'll be dark during the daytime. It'll just be a tiny bit of light, but it'll look nighttime. And the sun will look like a blue ring, most likely, I would guess, or a blue circle, okay? That's the Kachina star. That is a portent of the end times to many Native Americans. So what happens is, as this blue star, the star that leads to the Savior, pretty important since, you know, we're talking about holidays and stuff. So the wise men of the world follow this blue star. And where does blue star go? It goes home, to its cave, to its opening in the world. Hey, Almondo donated $5 more. I think he just likes to hear me say Almondo. Man, you guys are so cool. I often wish I could just hang out with a lot of you guys in person. But anyway, so the wise men, wise people of the world, DB just fed the jelly $5 and says, thank you. Do you think anything of significance will happen this year, indicating we're close to the plasma apocalypse? Bro, yes. Like, okay, aside from everything that we're already talking about and keeping your eyes on the sky and on the lights and the time of day and the temperature and the nighttime and all that stuff that we're talking about, like, what do I think will happen? There's lots of signs, okay? With these huge things that happen on a what people would call a planetary scale, you will have sign after sign after sign. It falls to us to open our eyes to see them. These changes. The world will start speaking to us a little, and then it'll get louder and louder and louder until it screams, basically, which I believe will actually happen. When the dome pops off, it's going to be loud, and eardrums will be broken probably from the depressurization. I don't know about the loudness of it all, but since people don't listen, people will lose their hearing. You know, it's the symbolic manifesting itself in the physical world. I forgot where I was going with all that. I'm sorry. Do I think anything of significance will happen this year? Yeah. I don't know what will happen. I mean, I'm sure if I sat down and kind of felt on it, I can't just like do it immediately and nothing comes to my mind. But I would say there's going to be a lot more unrest. I would say that people's energy is going to follow suit with the energy of the world, which is being amplified. The energy above us, which is getting faster and more hurried and more concentrated around our world. Our world will in turn reciprocate that. And you'll see insects starting to swarm all over the place. I just saw this other YouTube dude. Who was that? Somebody did something about swarms, something. I forgot the name of his channel. My buddy recommended him. But he was talking about swarms. Like there's all these weird earthworms or something on the sidewalk, and they were all making like a spiral. That's swarming. That's what happens whenever the energy gets all amplified as things start, you know, they start swarming. So people will start to do this, okay? So I would expect over the next few years or however long it is, that you'll see lots of swarms of insects, people, animals. You'll see lots of strange lights in the sky. The days themselves will get shorter. Some areas will get a lot colder because of shorter nighttime. So that hot light that we call daytime is not hitting it for as long, right? So although it's super hot, while it does hit it, it cools off a lot faster and has way more time to cool off. So I would expect a lot colder nights and winters and stuff like that, and a lot hotter summers. And those things have their consequences as well. So that's all I'm going to say. Just look for the signs. I would expect a lot of them. I can't tell you like Barack Obama is going to be president again or something weird like that, because I don't care. Although somebody did point out that I had put my money on us getting either a female president or vice president who would become president. And there's some interesting stuff happening. They were like, bro, you totally called that. And I was like, sweet. I love it. I love when that happens. I love it when I think of something and then I say it, although it might sound weird, and then it happens. And then I'm like, it's the best feeling ever. What I don't love is whenever I know something, I sense something is going to happen, and then I don't say anything. And then it happens. And I'm like, I knew that was going to happen. I should have told everybody. It would be so cool. Like, at the very least, right? All right, let me get this off the screen here. That's enough of that. Okay, so, anything else? What else? Oh, Armando says, J-Dreamers, I heard about the pale red sun. It's a vampiric half-dead sun that feeds on the main sun. Almost all the tribes all over the world are talking about multiple suns. I could totally see I just showed you a picture, literally, of multiple suns, right? Let's go back to it. Oh, can't even see it. Is this it? Yeah. All right, so let's say, hold on, I think I have better pictures. Oop, computer got mad at me. 1 second. All right, we need to go. 1 sec. I'm gonna pull up some other pictures here. I'm still trying to figure out all my files on my new computer and stuff. So, what do I need to do? I need to go back. I need to go there. Pow. Need to go there, and then there. I'll just be 10 seconds, and then there. And then, is it this one? No. However, I do want to share this. These are some ancient concepts that I want to show you, like examples in not just sci-fi. This is Doctor Who right here, which is awesome, by the way. But these ancient examples of what our world looks like. And as you can see, each and every time, boom. There's a big old ice dome, water dome, or whatever. This one is cool because this one actually says Gate of Heaven. And as you can see, there's other little tiny openings. I like this one because I believe those openings are the weak points in or holes in the inner dome, which makes the stars that we see in our sky. And that's why when the plasma comes in and floods down, right, that it'll fill this up, and the plasma will literally just shoot out of the stars. Like, it'll just make streaks in the sky. It'll look like the stars are falling. Let's see. Okay, let me get back to what I was doing here. I'm losing focus. Boom. I'll be right with you. You know what that comes from? That comes from my slave job. Like, everyone is so impatient and in such a hurry. Like, I have to apologize every 5 seconds if I take too long doing something. Oh, is it this one? No. Is it... Could it be? Yes! Okay. This is totally it. Well, it's the same picture. Anyways, my point is, these are all little suns. You see that? Hey, Mimi! Aw, Mimi sends me some love. Thanks, Mimi. Send your love right back. Boom. There's your love. I'm such a nerd. Alright, so, see all these little points of focus up here? These are all little suns. Boom. That's a sun. That's a sun. That's a sun. These are all suns. Boom. They just look a little different. They're different angles of light and intensities and stuff like that. But you could totally have another sun. Actually, if you read the book, The Smoky God, I forgot the author's name, but in the book The Smoky God, this guy takes his son up to the North Pole because they want to go inside of the Earth and stuff and meet the gods or giants or whatever, and they do. they come across what he calls a false sun, another sun, basically, which is closer up towards the North Pole. How interesting, right? Boom. What a wonderful world. How interesting. I am adding to my website lately as well. I'm trying to think of some other stuff. Like, I know I have to leave soon. I always hate that part. I hate the part when I have to go. LMC says, do you think that we're going to have to wait till 2024? That's my feeling. I don't think that, but I feel that. I feel that it's right around the corner. I feel that there's something going on with the year 2024 in the world of the elite, and it seems to be very interesting to them. They want to go to the moon. Oh, I'll show you that one. We totally got to show that. Hold on. Let me show that. They want to go. I have a whole 2024 folder in my computer here. Where is it? Oh, it's under the plasma apocalypse. Where is that one? There it is. Boom. Also, a lot of the stuff that I would get copyright strikes for on YouTube or something, I'm going to put that stuff on my website. So a lot of stuff that I wasn't able to like keep videos up or whatever it was, I'm going to put a lot of that stuff onto my website as well. All right, 2024. There it is. Boom. Pow. Paris, 2024. Boom. This Eiffel Tower is a lightning rod, basically. Okay, that's why it's there. It can also serve other functions, but boom, plasma hits that, boom, gets redirected into the ground where there's underground capacitors and whatnot. And 2024, red, blue, together, right? These are the omens and the signs that I see when the world speaks to me. Johann Kepler. If you look up people predicting the end of the world, Kepler, I believe. Oh, wait, what? Let me just read this. Let's see. Oh, these are all dating creation. Okay. So Kepler dated it at about 3977 BC. And I think if you go out 7,000 years from that, that takes us to 2024. Possibly. Crystal Carol just donated $5 and says, I think the Bible describes 7 floodgates. Yeah, absolutely. The planets, right? That's the floodgates. Those are the openings in the inner dome. Yes, boom. Carol's right on point. Or Crystal, sorry. Oh, Carol, Crystal. Crystal Carol. You're totally right. So she's talking about the floodgates, the windows of the heavens. That's the inner dome that has holes in it from the last plasma apocalypse, right? And light refracts, it hits that. There's waters up there. Remember, plasma fills up in between those two domes and whatnot. And those are known as the floodgates of the heavens, where things come down into our world, whether it be physical, actual water or light or whatever. Very good point. I don't know what that was for anyways. Oh, Paris 2024. That kind of looks like the Jupiter symbol. I'm not sure. And then it's got this huge gate, right? The gate symbolism, the worlds colliding down here when all the worlds experience their plasma apocalypse all at the same time, because I totally think they do. I think this event happens on many worlds all at once. It's not just like, oh no, it's Earth's time, this hardly ever happens, blah, blah, blah. No, like literally every other world in our little local area is all experiencing their plasma apocalypse all at the same time. And in the DC world, remember DC, how we talked about the world and the other world, right? The DC. In the DC world, they have what's known as I think it's called the Red Sky event or something like that. It's basically the end of the world on every single alternate Earth, which is the same concept. What else? 2024. Oh, check this out. 2024. Next total eclipse in the United States. In 2024, it's going to be right over this particular region. Interesting. Oh, here it is. Now, this is what I was just talking about. Look at the date on the paper. 2024. Right? Flash missing. Vanishes in crisis. Red skies vanish, right? So that's on the other world where there's super heroes and stuff up there still, because they all have superpowers and stuff. Their red sky will go away. We will get the red sky. We will inherit that stuff. What was it called? Crisis on Infinite Earths. I think that's actually what it was called. That jogged my memory. So I have all these weird things about 2024 that sort of are signs that I've been given. But hey, if it doesn't happen in 2024, great. Then I will be preparing for 2025. And then I'll be preparing for 2026, okay? I'm not one of those people that is just trying to guess what day it's going to happen. I'm one of those people that tries to figure out what may happen, what has already happened, and to start changing my life. Like, for example, observing the holidays. Those holidays were created to keep you safe from events that happen on those days or during those time frames. So, yeah, there's a reason why your whole family gets together and stays inside and all this other stuff, lights candles or whatever. Like, the holidays were created to help you out. Forget the stories. Forget that you don't agree that your holiday story turned into this and my holiday story turned into that. Forget all that. It's about safety. It's about survival. It's about being together on these times when we could be scattered and separated, and living and making it through that. Lisa Post, Awakened Reality. Hey, what's up, dude? Says, hey, tribe, send in my love. Nice, he's out on a walk. All right. Anything else? I feel like I've covered a lot. I don't like to... When I start running out of things to say is when I start getting kind of weird. Like, does anybody have any questions about what we've gone over as far as the origin of the term once in a blue moon, or the blue sun, the Kachina star appearing and therefore daylight, burning, nighttime getting bigger, daytime getting smaller, the two different plasma apocalypses? By the way, if you wanted to know, I'm sure somebody will ask me. I believe that the plasma apocalypse, where that plasma tube above us, remember I said it pulsates? I believe that one of them is when it gets big, and that's when the sun disappears because you can't have a focal point anymore, right? All those rays just hit the ground. So boom, there's no sun making a focal point. That brings about the Great Winter, but then you also have the one where that tube above us gets smaller and tighter and tighter and tighter, spinning faster and faster and faster and faster, right? Which also, now that I think about it, would probably make the sun spin in turn faster and faster and faster, which means our day would go by faster. Not only would we have less daylight as a span from morning to night, right, because they would get smaller, but that spotlight itself would go faster and faster, I think. Anyway, December 24th is a national holiday now. Okay, sweet. Right on. Good. See, we always return back to our origins. Everything, the old ways are returning, right? The world is becoming divided. Everybody's going crazy. Plasma possession is rampant everywhere. Try to get it in my house. The world's going nuts right now. It's red versus blue. You're going to see lights in the sky. You're going to see all the weird stuff. Like, basically, all of our sci-fi movies and stuff are going to stop seeming like they're sci-fi. They're just going to look like, this is just a cartoonified truth of what's happening in our world right now. I mean, I already see that. Hopefully, it'll become so blatant and obvious to many of you that you see it as well. So, yeah, sci-fi and all that stuff, that is truth. It's just truth that we forgot about. So when that truth starts to come back around and remind us, we start to look at those movies a little different, don't we? Kristen Chambers fed the jelly and gave me a little sticker in the chat with like a good vibe sticker. Hey, thanks, Kristen. Sweetheart. Lisa Post. Sweetheart. Everybody will be my sweetheart today. Lisa Post says, Jay, keep doing what you truly love. Thanks again for surprise get together. Oh, yeah, you're super welcome. All right, sweet. So I'm going to call it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Let's see. I don't really have much other stuff to show. I can't remember. I always feel like there's so much more I could talk about, but then like, I don't want to beat a horse at all. Like, I don't want to beat a dead horse or whatever the weird saying is. I feel like that's appropriate, that we should end this about strange sayings and stuff with the strange saying. So I don't want to beat a dead horse to death or find a blind squirrel in an alley every once in a while or whatever, however the sayings go. I'm going to go take off. Let me know in the comments, like what part of what we've gone over, you got the most value from, like something that resonated the most with you, or your ideas. Please add to this in the chat, add to this in the comment section. The chat is for members because I already know I'm going to be doing more videos and stuff, and with the more population comes like, have to trying to keep it clean and this and that, and it's just the way things go. So the chat is going to be for members from now on. I love all of you, and I hate that I have to make it for members only. Unfortunately, with the more population, and all of you already know how crazy the world is. So just imagine, the more people starting to watch my channel and stuff, the more weird things are gonna start happening and stuff. And I'm just trying to bypass all of that by doing members only. Like, you know, keep it good, keep it happy. And not only that, but it provides a way for people to support me. Like, they support my work, they find value in what I do, and so, you know, because they can, they donate and stuff, which I appreciate. And there's a lot of people that don't, I also appreciate. I'm not even like doing this for the money or anything. It just happens to be a nice little side thing that I get to benefit from. So I get to buy food and stuff. Now I'm rambling, so I don't want to go. I'm used to everybody saying at JDreamers and having a million questions and stuff, but now it's like we all know each other, so everybody's hanging out in the chat, which I love. So with that being said, I'm going to let you all go to the rest of your holy day, set apart time, however you see it and whatever stories you believe in. And I hope you have a good one. And I hope that you keep in mind why the holidays are so great. Even though, in essence, we're coming together, we're planning for survival, we're getting ready for bad things to happen, we decide to hold hands and hug and share a meal and smile and stare all that danger and all that fear right in the face and know that we're survivors, that we're explorers. Anyway, until next time, I'm JDreamers saying good vibes and goodbye.
I'm heading for some place that ain't in a dream. I'm heading where no mortal man's ever been. And you may never see my face again.
Bow, bow,
The eyes of a
bow.
fool and a heart full of fire. I'm climbing a mountain that keeps getting higher. I'm playing a game where
No one's supposed to win.
on my way where I want to be. Got to stay out of the air. Out of the air. I'm betting it all on the roll of the dice. Got nothing to lose but the rest of my life. I'm chasing.
Harder I run and the faster I go. Aquaman! Got to stay.